So settle back and enjoy the Hungarian Grand Prix only on ITV. James Allen and Louise Goodman are in the pits. Martin Brundle and Murray Walker are in the commentary box.
And gosh, I feel nearly as nervous as the drivers on the grid. 10 points separate Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve in the World Championship after 10 races. They're on the front row of the grid together with Damon Hill right behind them, and the World Championship does not affect him. The race is going to last some 1 3/4 hours on a tough, grueling track, and only about half the cars historically are going to finish it. And the most important of all are the first 2 corners.
That's right, Murray. It's always a difficult start here because it's a downhill slope just as you arrive in the first corner. It's very slippery on the inside. Cars tend to focus and lift off earlier than you would normally expect, and there'll be a few guys out there who really want to have a go down the outside. Eddie Irvine's one of them. And I've made a lot of places here in the beginning of these races too. You really can go very late and very deep to the outside of the track, but then you've got to filter back into the queue, and they don't always want to let you in, and it's very dirty offline, as has already been explained. And then pretty much the same thing happens into turn 2 again, but you get a concertina effect and you have to brake much earlier than expected. So I'm expecting quite a lot of action in those first 2 corners, Murray.
Turn 1, a 180-degree right-hander, then it's downhill into the virtually 90-degree turn 2 left-hander. Anxious times at the front for Michael Schumacher. You've heard from James Allen about his car. It's a rebuilt car. They've taken the engine out of the light car that he crashed because Michael prefers that one. He tried both the spare and the other one during the short period before they actually lined up on the grid, and he's made his choice for the spare car. So he starts in pole position for the 2nd time in succession. That's where he was last year. Actually, it's the same 3 people at the front of the grid as last year, but in a slightly different order. Schumacher, Hill, Villeneuve was the order last year when Villeneuve and Hill were both in Williams. This year it's Schumacher, Villeneuve on the front row, and Damon Hill in the Arrows in the 3rd place on the 2nd row. David Coulthard is down in 8th position. Johnny Herbert is 10th. Eddie Irvine should do well in this race. His trouble in the past has been that he hasn't qualified as well in the Ferrari as he would have liked. But here he's in 5th place, both the Ferraris then in the top 5 places for the grid. And historically, what you're about to see is the grid being cleared, and then the cars will go round for that 1 formation lap. Now, it's pretty hot here, probably not as hot as it is in some of the places where we're being watched from for a change, but the track temperature is about 32 degrees, and if anybody at the back of the grid is tardy getting into line, it could make things difficult for the people ahead of them with overheating engines.
Now, you may be surprised to see some of the start lights on there already, but in fact the same set of lights are now used to warn the teams of the imminent procedure leading up to that formation lap as we use for the start proper, Murray.
Yep, so Schumacher in a strange car, although not all that strange because he's had 2 cars at his disposal all through the meeting, and the spare car which he's in now with that famous prancing horse symbol on the side of it is the one that he checked out in the half-hour warm-up this morning. Not the one he ideally wanted to use, but Michael Schumacher is good enough to make up for some deficiency in the car, and I suspect that it is not going to be all that deficient. Ross Brawn, that you heard talking earlier on, has done a fabulous job as the technical director of Ferrari, and maybe we're about to see the fruits of it. Ferrari leading the Constructors' Championship, Michael Schumacher leading the Drivers' Championship, and Jacques Villeneuve, his chief rival in the championship and this race as far as the start is concerned. On the left of your picture, Michael Schumacher on the right. Now this is a 14-turn track. The length of the circuit is 2.465 miles. It's 77 laps, a whisker under 190 miles.
Look at the heat haze there. It's plenty warm enough today. Those Goodyear runners that have chosen the soft tyres, and that's most of them, are going to be wishing it was slightly cooler. Those tyres are in great danger of blistering if they put too much workload into them, and there's plenty warming up. It's 31 degrees, the track temperature already.
Yeah, just a quick word to say that there's only 4 drivers on hard compound tyres in this race. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Williams, both the Jordan drivers, Fisichella and Schumacher, who are starting well down the grid, they're on Goodyears, and on the hard Bridgestone tyres, it's Jan Magnussen, the Danish driver in the Stewart Ford, who's starting from 17th on the grid. So this is turn 2. Now you'll see them swing right to turn 3, where we've had quite a few people go off at the beginning of the race in the past. The leaders are up at turn 5 now, coming to the chicane, which they go through at about 60 miles an hour, accelerating hard. There's Damon Hill holding station in 3rd position. And remember, he said on the grid that he was expecting Schumacher and Villeneuve to pull away from him, and that he'd have to work very hard indeed to keep the others behind him.
Well, that's right, but it is difficult to overtake here. Damon is going to feel very comfortable up here at the front of the grid. He's used to that. He spent most of his time up here when he was a Williams driver, so there's going to be nothing there to frighten him. He knows what to do up there. He knows how to behave, and they're not going to be easily past him, and his tyres are as strong as anybody else's. Remember, I think I'm right in saying that Damon Hill has never finished here out of the top 2.
Yes, you are, Martin, and of course he's won the race twice. He won in 1993, won in 1995. There's the man who won in 1994 for Benetton, and that of course is Michael Schumacher, coming up to his position on the clean side of the track. And this is what cost Damon last year, because we're with Villeneuve now, and that's where Damon Hill was last year, and he suffered, but you can see that there's quite a lot of rubber laid on the track in front of Villeneuve. Well,
they've been hoovering the track, believe it or not, big industrial hoover, and sweeping it quite a lot. There's a rip-off coming off from the visor of Michael Schumacher's crash helmet, so he's got a clear visor for the start of the race. Can't imagine it was too dirty anyway, but yes, they have been cleaning the inside, and that's why one of the drivers said it's not as dirty. Irvine said it's not as dirty as I normally expect it to be, but nonetheless, there's less grip over there, but you can still get away from that side of the grid, especially if somebody bogs down and lets the revs drop too low, even on the clean side.
Damon Hill, 3rd on the grid, 3 lights on, 4 lights on, 5 lights on. Pause. Go in Hungary. Schumacher leads, and Damon Hill passes Villeneuve, and Eddie Irvine is up into 3rd position. Damon Hill moves across and blocks him. Hakkinen is up, and Villeneuve has dropped back several places, exactly the same as happened to Villeneuve as happened to Hill last year. Damon is in 2nd place, and Eddie Irvine is trying to get round him as they go round 2. Out of the race already, Jan Magnussen, although he's driving across the gravel trap, and that's one that'll be Morbidelli in the Sauber. And look at the lead that Michael Schumacher has already got. Now, this is absolutely sensational for Damon Hill. He got ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, and now on this track, which is so very, very difficult to pass on, he has only got Michael Schumacher in front of him. It's a long, long race, 77 laps, 1 3/4 hours, but he is in an absolutely superlative position. Schumacher, Hill, Irvine, Hakkinen, Villeneuve. Frentzen is behind Villeneuve in the 2nd Williams, so he's come up several places because Frentzen started in 6th position. He's come up 1 place to be exact, and behind him is David Coulthard, behind him is Johnny Herbert, behind him is Jean Alesi, behind him is Gerhard Berger, and you're looking now at the completion of lap 1, Schumacher across the line, and the gap between Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill is 1.7 seconds, and Hakkinen is challenging as he goes up behind Eddie Irvine. Race order, lap 2, there is the leader, Michael Schumacher. Damon Hill ahead of Irvine, Hakkinen, Villeneuve and Frentzen, that's the top 6. David Coulthard is in 7th position. Johnny Herbert has come up to 8th from 10th. And Michael Schumacher now with a clear track in front of him, and with the next man nearly 2 seconds behind him, is really going to be putting the pedal down. And we're going to start asking ourselves shortly, what are the strategies going to be? Historically, for the last 3 years, the man who won the race has had 3 stops for tyres and fuel. We'd expect that about lap 19, the first stop, but some of them are going to stop twice. And in comes Jan Magnussen in the Stewart Ford. New nose on it. Normally that takes about 20 seconds. Jan Magnussen has had terrible luck in the Stewart team this year.
Yes, you've got a big tyre mark in the side of his car. This is turn 2 we were talking about earlier, where you get a concertina effect. Deniz was in the middle of that too, and that's obviously, they all tripped over each other because the cars break much earlier than you expect there every year.
Well, now everybody, certainly in Britain and around the world, I think, will be wondering about Damon Hill. And the big question is the Arrows, which has been unreliable in the past, going to last the race? And Damon Hill is currently the quickest man on the track, faster than Schumacher, 0.3 of a second faster than Schumacher. He's cut the gap from 1.7 seconds to 1.4 seconds.
Well, remember, Schumacher's never driven this car around here. It's the T car they're using that he's done very little work in this weekend. I'm not surprised he'll take a time to settle down, but it does look good for Hill, and Hill could be stopping one time less than Michael Schumacher.
Martin, you're closely connected with Arrows. How reliable is the car, do you think?
Well, the last 2 races, of course, it's been much better. Remember, Silverstone Damon finished 6th. Hockenheim, we were where the engine is most exposed reliability-wise, and the chassis also. It finished again, so reliability is not the issue it was earlier in the season, but this is a tough racetrack, 77 laps, a long way to go.
Indeed. So there is Damon, and he's got a comfortable gap now between himself and Eddie Irvine, 1.5 seconds. Indeed, what Irvine in third place needs to worry about is Mika Häkkinen, because the McLaren is just 0.6 of a second behind him. Schumacher goes through, he's on his 4th lap now, 3 completed, 77 lap race, turns into turn 1, and watch the way it goes round. Now there's Villeneuve, and I remind you that what Villeneuve is most concerned about is his position in the World Championship. He's 10 points behind Michael Schumacher. The last thing on earth that he wants is for Michael Schumacher again to finish in front of him. It wouldn't matter whether Villeneuve was 6th and Schumacher was 5th. It would increase the points gap between them. And as the season wears on, this is race 11 out of 17. Villeneuve has got to close that gap if he's thinking of seriously of the World Championship. The Ferrari is going better and better. If Schumacher is going as quick as he is, and he's now the fastest man on the track, with the first lap in the race in under 1 minute 20 seconds, 1:19.75 to be exact, and Villeneuve is now some 5.5 seconds behind the Ferrari, and Damon Hill looking good.
Yes, well, Schumi was the quickest, as you rightly say, but Damon Hill was just 0.02 of a second slower, so there's not a lot in it. It's looking good.
So, V10 Ferrari, V10 Yamaha-powered Arrows, and you can see visually that Hill is inching up on the Ferrari and inching away from Eddie Irvine with the yellow flashes. Häkkinen, Villeneuve, Frentzen, David Coulthard, then there's a gap. Johnny Herbert is in 8th position, there he is, he's ahead of both the Benettons. Alesi, 9th, and Berger 10th.
And a new fastest lap there for Damon Hill, 1:19.6, a new fastest lap.
Well, if Damon doesn't turn another wheel in this race, he has done magnificently to start from 3rd on the grid and to get that 2nd position by passing Jacques Villeneuve at the start. What could have gone wrong with the Williams or with the way Villeneuve took it off the grid?
Well, it looked to me as if he did bog down. When you're trying to resist too much wheel spin, which is the problem on the right-hand side of the track here, often you overcompensate, and that's far worse. The engine bogs down, you have to dip the clutch, recommence your start procedure, and these things take off like scolded cats. A guy starting 10th on the grid's doing over 100 miles an hour before he passes the pole position start man where he started the race from. So you can imagine they just stream past you, and you have to dip the clutch and really get the revs back up, and then you tend to spin the wheels too much after that.
I have been longing to talk about this. I never expected to be able to do so, but we've got 3 world champions in this race, and you're looking at them now. Yes, I know what I'm saying. Michael Schumacher has been champion twice, Damon Hill has been champion once, and Damon Hill has halved the gap. He's more than halved the gap, and now Schumacher is coming up on a tail ender. I think it's Morbidelli in the Sauber, but Damon Hill is closing on the Ferrari. I say again, again, Michael Schumacher is in a car that is entirely new to him as far as race running is concerned. He's had a few laps in it in the warm-up this morning. Damon Hill, of course, has been working very patiently on the setup of his car, and there's another difference between these two. Michael Schumacher is using Goodyear tyres. Damon Hill is using Bridgestone tyres. The battle between the two tyre manufacturers is just as great as it is between the car constructors, and the Bridgestones are said to be particularly good in the heat.
Well, they do seem more durable. Earlier on in the year, they performed very well in the race. They've tended to be slightly off the pace in qualifying on those occasions because they're harder, less immediate grip, but more overall durability. I sat with Damon not 40 minutes ago, and he is so cool. We were chatting away about the pictures of Lady Di in the newspapers today. He's completely relaxed.
He certainly sounds as though he is, but he certainly doesn't look it now. Just look. Damon now right under the rear wing of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Damon, who has won 21 Grand Prix in his life. Michael Schumacher, who has won 25.
And that's Villeneuve trying to go around the outside of... No, he didn't make it. Sorry, it's Villeneuve and Irvine. He's got through. Passed him at turn 3. Irvine had to get off the gas, and there you have it.
Yeah, and so what about Mika Häkkinen? Well, we'll keep an eye on, but the producer is quite rightly watching this battle for the lead. We haven't seen one like it for a long time. Shades of 1994. Remember, Schumacher won the World Championship. Damon Hill was second. It went right down to the wire in Adelaide with that memorable coming together, and they've had others. Well, now they are at it again. Schumacher leads. Damon Hill is second. Eddie Irvine in the second Ferrari. Let's look back and see where we see him. No, it's Häkkinen. Häkkinen is up into third place. We've missed that, but Häkkinen is up into third place ahead of Irvine, and Villeneuve has passed the Ferrari too, so presumably Eddie Irvine has got a problem.
Well, I think he may have made a mistake. That's allowed Häkkinen through, we believe, and then allowed Villeneuve to take a run at him. So bad news there for Eddie, and bad news for Michael Schumacher too. And yes, Irvine, they're getting ready for him. He's coming in the pit lane, so maybe he's had to come in together with somebody. Here he is now. He's at his pits right now.
There he is, into the pits, and there's new wheels and tyres going on. That will happen automatically. Fuel goes in as well, so they've topped up now. That's going to change the strategy, whatever it was. I can't imagine why he stopped, can you?
Well, unless it was a puncture. His tyres looked okay when the brief shot I saw of them, so maybe he had a slow puncture.
Just think of Damon Hill now, because all through the season, in a car which sadly wasn't up to his talent, he's been sweating and he's been very, very subdued. He's carried it with great dignity. That's Gianni Morbidelli in the pits already in the Sauber, well down the field. But now Damon's got a car that's been worked on so hard by John Barnard and everybody else at Lee Field, the Arrows headquarters, and the results are there to see.
Well, Irvine was a bottleneck because Häkkinen and Villeneuve are homing in on these two now very, very quickly. 1.6 seconds on the last lap. There you see Häkkinen coming into shot. Damon's about to have his mirrors full too. Michael Schumacher's struggling in that car. It's not handling well for him, and it's taking a lot of work and a lot of energy out of those tyres. He's going to be struggling with that car nearer the pit stop time.
Go, go, go! Mika Häkkinen closing. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Damon Hill. The order is Ferrari, Arrows, McLaren, Williams and Villeneuve. Frentzen in the second, Williams is fifth. David Coulthard in the second, McLaren is sixth. Johnny Herbert is seventh. Lacey is in eighth position. There are the first four, and Damon Hill is giving Michael Schumacher the race of his life. He's not giving him 1 second's relaxation.
Well, I'm not sure where he's going to be able to overtake him. He's not got enough speed down the pit straight, but he's going to have to muscle his way past there. Otherwise, he's going to be under enormous pressure himself, as you can see.
Draußen, gerade noch in der Box, jetzt schon im Gras. Schade, Pech für ihn beim Rückkehrer Grand Prix. Und das ist alles enger zusammengerückt.
Ja, es sieht so aus, als würde Schumacher definitiv die anderen aufhalten.
Schnellste Rennrunde nach wie vor die von Damon Hill aus der 4. Runde. Und die Zeiten sind gravierend langsamer geworden. Wir hatten am Anfang 1,19er, dann kurzfristig 1,20er. Jetzt 1,23 bei Michael Schumacher zum zweiten Mal in Folge. Und logischerweise auch bei Damon Hill, der greift an.
Ja, für Hill ein kleines Dilemma. Er könnte wirklich schneller fahren, ohne Zweifel, wenn er mal Michael Schumacher vorbeikäme. Und er ist jetzt selber in der Lage, wo er leicht unter Druck kommt, durch Häkkinen hinter ihm, der wiederum von Villeneuve angegriffen wird. Also schon eine interessante Situation.
Bisschen Ironie des Schicksals, denn genau das hat Damon Hill ja vorhin im Interview Kai Ebel gesagt. Hier ist alles möglich, wenn man gut wegkommt und vorne wegfährt, dann kann man sich da vorne behaupten. Da hat er wahrscheinlich wirklich von sich gesprochen oder gehofft, dass er derjenige sein könnte, der sich da vorne behauptet. Jetzt hat er genau die Probleme, die du gerade geschildert hast. Er kann theoretisch schneller fahren als Michael Schumacher, hängt aber dahinter und kommt nicht vorbei. Und auch ansonsten keine Überholmanöver im Hinterfeld. Platzverschiebungen nur durch Ausfälle oder durch frühe Boxenstops. Also Ralf Schumacher ist mittlerweile auf Platz 12. Vor allen Dingen natürlich durch Irvines Pech. Und auch Berger muss irgendein Problem gehabt haben, denn der ist zurückgefallen auf Platz 14. Dizzy Keller aber immer noch vor Ralf Schumacher, und zwar genau den einen Platz, den er auch im Training die Nase vorn hatte. Und jetzt Hill wieder ganz nah dran, das kann man aus der Heli-Perspektive sehen. Jetzt wird wahrscheinlich der nächste Angriff kommen und wir achten mal auf die Topspeeds.
Deutlich mehr Grip bei Hill, er kann da echt schneller fahren und hat sich jetzt einwandfrei vorbeigebremst. Michael Schumacher hatte deutlich Probleme in der Zieleingangskurve oben. Da wäre er schon fast hinten ins Getriebe gefahren.
Und schön wäre zu sehen, wenn wir mal
Drama at the Hungarian Grand Prix as Damon Hill squeezes past Michael Schumacher. Here's Simon Taylor.
Yes, we see it again. Damon Hill had a very good entry into the final corner. He was tucked in under the rear wing of the Ferrari, and that was enough as they went into the braking area for him to dart out of the slipstream, force the arrows down the inside. Schumacher tried to close the door. Look at Hill right over the white line, almost on the grass, but he kept his head, kept his foot down. Damon Hill leads a Grand Prix. Back to Murray.
Lap 11, Damon leads again in Hungary, and what is more, he has done something that the others may find very, very difficult indeed, because Michael Schumacher is undoubtedly holding everybody up, and he's going to be coming in, we do believe, but Damon Hill has got past him, and Häkkinen in third position cannot, as you can see. Villeneuve is fourth, Frentzen is fifth, Coulthard is sixth, Johnny Herbert is coming right up with them in seventh place.
Bad news for Damon that Michael Schumacher's coming in, because all weekend Damon has been very, very fast in the last section of the lap, and that got him underneath the rear wing. There's a smoking Mercedes-Benz engine in Häkkinen's car. Damon's got it underneath his rear wing, got a super tow, and then an incredibly brave manoeuvre. And remember when he last tried that on Michael Schumacher, he turned into him in Adelaide and he lost the World Championship. But he pulled it off this time, and now he's just racing away from them. But bad news for him if Schumacher comes in the pits. But hang on, they're taking Schumacher's tyres away back into the garage. That's great news for Damon.
Now, if I had said to you who is going to be leading the Hungarian Grand Prix on lap 12, would you have said Damon Hill? You would have been a very brave man if you had.
But look, he's taking 3 seconds a lap out of the chasing pack now, just because Schumacher's in the way. So the longer it takes them to pass Schumacher, the better. But Damon's 3 seconds a lap faster at the moment.
And it could well be that he's going to be making one stop less, but we've got news from James Allen in the pits.
Yeah, just to clear up this Ferrari tyre situation, Murray, Eddie Irvine did not have a slow puncture. It was just a badly balanced set of tyres that weren't working on his car. Now, that's the problem also they thought that Schumacher had. A second ago, the mechanics came out and they were all set. Tyre covers were off, fuel hoses ready for Michael Schumacher, who I understand is on a 3-stop strategy, by the way.
Häkkinen is in trouble. We've seen puffs of smoke from the McLaren's Mercedes engine. There he is. The man who was in third position is now touring back to the start. And Jacques Villeneuve moves up into third position as Mika Häkkinen retires the McLaren Mercedes. And Damon Hill leads by 5 seconds. 5 incredible seconds. I can hardly believe my eyes as I watch this happening before them.
Well, he looks somewhat calmer than you, Murray, I have to say, and he's doing a super job out there. But I understand your excitement because this is looking good, and we know his tyres have a good durability, and we think he is only 2 stopping.
Yeah, and Damon is at home. He's leading a race. He knows how to do it. He's been there before. He's won 21 times. Behind him, Schumacher's won more races, but look where he is now. Behind him, Jacques Villeneuve has won races, but not as many as Damon. He hasn't got the experience. And Damon Hill is not only leading, but he's pulling away. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 19.6.
Look, here's Villeneuve coming up the inside of Schumacher, the same the move that Damon Hill put on him. He's so slow out of the last corner. He's a sitting duck at the end of the straight. And now Villeneuve will run and hide from that little gaggle. Now Frentzen has got he's next in line to have a go at Michael Schumacher.
Well, at 14, yes, Heinz-Frau Frentzen actually had a look at the inside of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. But Schumacher's not going to give way, of course. He knows that if he stays on the racing line, it's terribly difficult to get past. Jacques Villeneuve did a bumper job in getting past him there. Frentzen's going to have another go. Here is Schumacher. We're on lap 14. Damon Hill, meantime, is nearly 9 seconds ahead now.
I can't remember the last time that Michael Schumacher was a moving chicane, that's for sure.
You're absolutely right, Martin. And behind Jacques Villeneuve is David Coulthard in the Soul McLaren. And of course, Jacques Villeneuve has done exactly what he wanted to do. He's got ahead of the man who is ahead of him, the only man who's ahead of him in the World Championship. Jacques Villeneuve is on a potential 4 points at the present moment. And Frentzen is right up behind the Ferrari. The gap is extending. Frentzen, into the pits comes Michael Schumacher. James Allen, he's on his way to you right now.
Just caught a very quick word with Heiner Buchinger, who's Michael Schumacher's right-hand man. I said, Heiner, what is the problem? Is it that the tyres are just badly balanced as they were with Eddie Irvine? He said, that's exactly right. They're just no good. He can't get any grip, as you can see. That's the problem. The strategy of Ferrari has gone all to pot. It was that Irvine would do 2 stops and Schumacher would do 3, and I'm pretty convinced that Hill's only going to do 2 stops. Very interesting situation here.
Too right. Schumacher has stopped. Eddie Irvine has stopped. Both the Ferraris, therefore, have been in and out, and Michael Schumacher rejoins the race.
I don't think they can be talking about balance as you know it on your road car, where you get a shimmy coming through the steering wheel. That's not enough to slow a racing driver down. It's a nuisance on a racing car, on a Formula One car, because the steering and everything else is so rigidly made. But I think they must mean the balance of grip front to rear. The car was sliding around more than he wanted. I can't believe it's the sheer balance of the wheel due to weight.
And it really is surprising that you can come in on a set of tyres which you think are awful, put another set on, and the car is absolutely transformed. But there's transformation for you. Damon Hill coming through to complete his 15th lap out of 77. Now, the gap between was 8.6 seconds. We'll see now whether Jacques Villeneuve, who you see coming down the straight towards us, has closed the gap at all. Yes, he has. It's down to 7.9 seconds. And Frentzen is up into 3rd position. In 4th position, it's Coulthard behind him. In the red striped helmet is Johnny Herbert, 5th in the Sauber. He's in the points. And Michael Schumacher is out of the points now because Alesi is in 6th position in the Benetton. Trulli is up to 7th in the Prost, and Rubens Barrichello is now in 8th position in the leading Stewart.
Well, the 3 stoppers are going to have to show their hand in the next 3 or 4 laps, I would suggest. So we're certainly going to see which ones of the current runners, the front runners, have decided on stopping 3 times. That means using 4 sets of tyres during the race.
Yeah, the fastest man on the track now is actually Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and his last lap was 0.7 of a second faster than Damon Hill's. But between the 2 of them, there is Jacques Villeneuve, and Villeneuve is not going to give up his position lightly to Frentzen, who is lapping only 3/100ths of a second faster than he is. The gap between Frentzen and Villeneuve is 3.6 seconds. The gap between Hill and Villeneuve, lap 16. Damon, I must say this again, Damon Hill leading the Hungarian Grand Prix, and again Frentzen goes fastest.
Okay, Frentzen, as you say, is very, very fast. They're going to be pulling that gap back on Damon now. He's dropped back into the 20s. They have struggled a little bit with graining of the tyre, completely different problem to the Goodyears, where you get an unhappy texture on the top, makes the car slide a bit. It's the front left tyre, makes the car understeer a little bit, but now he's got to start pushing. he will see that they're beginning to close the gap once again, and he'll have to pick up his rhythm.
First of all, it was the two rivals from '94 in particular, Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher. Now it's the two rivals from 1996. The reigning world champion, Damon Hill, and a lot of people lose sight of that because of his misfortunes this year. But Damon is the reigning world champion, and he's ahead of the man who was in the same team as him last year, Jacques Villeneuve in the Williams, and the gap now is down to 6.3 seconds and gaining.
Einfach an der Kürze der Zeit oder an der Unmöglichkeit, sich überhaupt nochmal damit auseinanderzusetzen.
Diniz rausgegangen, der Teamkollege von Damon Hill mit ganz neuen Reifen, also noch nicht mal angefahren. Außerdem waren in der Box Verstappen, der Irvine ja ohnehin, den haben wir vorhin schon gesehen. Morbidelli und Magnussen gab zweimal, auch das hatten wir Ihnen schon gesagt. Und Frentzen im Moment der eindeutig schnellste Mann im Feld. Rückstand auf die Spitze, zwar 8,5 Sekunden, aber schnellste Rennrunde von Heinz-Harald Frentzen mit 1:18,875. Zum Vergleich der Spitzenreiter Damon Hill 1:20,2. Da haben Sie jetzt die Einblendung. Und Michael Schumacher hat 6 Sekunden Rückstand auf Shinji Nakano. Das wäre der erste, auf den er aufläuft. Und wenn er auf den aufläuft, dann ist er auch gleich schon im Getriebe seines Bruders, denn Ralf und auch Giancarlo Fisichella sind ganz nah vor dem Japaner im Prost Honda vor Shinji Nakano. Diniz zurückgefahren durch den Boxenstopp. Wir haben ja so vorher mal so ein bisschen gerechnet, so ab der 18., 19. Runde, das waren so die Erfahrungswerte des letzten Jahres, würden die Boxenstops losgehen für die, die dreimal stoppen. Zwischen der 19. und der 25. Runde in etwa haben wir das errechnet und erwartet. Müsste die erste große Welle der regulären Boxenstops kommen. Das neue Chassis hat ja auch einen anderen Tank, einen minimal größeren Tank. Ganz genau verrät das Ferrari natürlich nicht. Diese paar Liter können unter Umständen natürlich auch ein bisschen was ausmachen. Zumindest was die Flexibilität angeht, dass man 1, 2 Runden länger warten kann vielleicht.
Ja, wiederum bei diesen kurzen Turns zwischen den Boxenstopps nimmt man nicht allzu viel Sprit mit, da wird es nicht allzu viel ausmachen oder wird es überhaupt nichts ausmachen. Denn nur bei den Fahrten, wo man eben versucht, über
Lap 19 out of 77 at Hungary, and the situation is getting even more interesting than it was before, because that's Pedro Diniz, and he's in 19th position. He's been caught by the race leader and his teammate Damon Hill. Is Diniz going to let Hill through? And if he does, is he going to make it difficult for the others to pass him? And Damon Hill, meantime, is about to lap his teammate, and that's Jos Verstappen in front in the tour. Now, this would be a good point for Damon Hill to get past, and he does it. Now, what is Diniz going to do? Does he realise that A, Damon Hill is leading the race, and that B, Jacques Villeneuve is catching him? He'll soon see the Williams in his mirrors. Villeneuve has got another of the Tyrrells. That'll be Mika Salo. But I know it's Verstappen. He's got to get past him, then he's got to get past Salo. And meantime, Damon Hill has again got a clear track in front of him.
Yes, rest assured, Pedro Diniz would just have heard in his earplugs the dulcet tones of the Scot, Mr. Walkinshaw, who's as wide as he is high, saying, "My man's coming through, make sure you don't hold him up." So Diniz would have been well aware of the situation there from the pits.
Yes, and one has to wonder also whether Tom Walkinshaw would also have said, and of course, Pedro, behind Damon is Jacques Villeneuve, who's in second place, so make sure you let him through as well.
Come on, Murray, you don't really believe that sort of thing goes on around here, do you?
No,
This is a gentleman's sport.
Not for a single moment. Night 20 this is. And Damon Hill now you can see Villeneuve closing up on Diniz. Very seriously, the gap is down to 3 seconds. It's not going to be very long before Damon Hill has got Jacques Villeneuve underneath his rear wing. And the question then will be, will Villeneuve on the softer Goodyear tyres have to stop more than Damon Hill on the harder Bridgestone tyres? Now there is Diniz, he's been lapped. There's Villeneuve, who is second. Then there was one of the Tyrrells, that of Mika Salo. They're round turn 2 into turn 3. That's Damon Hill leading. We're on lap 21 now. There's a long, long way to go. As I said earlier on, this race goes on for an hour and 3/4, and it's very, very hot indeed, demanding and grueling for the cars and the drivers. We're with Villeneuve.
Let me tell you a problem that Damon is going to have as we ride on board with Villeneuve. The pitch are breaking up. We've moved away. When you're being lapped, I've been in fast cars and I've been in slow cars, and when you're being lapped by a bright red Ferrari or something that's obviously a Williams or the McLaren of Senna, you move out of the way extra fast. When something like the Arrows, that's not been in the lead of a race much this year, comes up behind you, you're going to work out for a little while, is it somebody I'm racing with, is it Diniz or is it Hill? The blue flags should be giving the game away, but you'll still be taking 2 or 3 corners to be sure you're not letting past a competitor, and that's what's going to happen with this Tyrrell guy. Hopefully he'll realise very quickly that it's Damon Hill that's coming up behind him.
It's Jos Verstappen, actually, the Dutchman. He's in 17th place. He's the next man to be lapped by Damon, who's already lapped Diniz and Salo. Now, and Damon Hill goes through lap 22, race order. Hill leads. Villeneuve is now only 2.7 seconds behind him and gaining. Frentzen is 2 seconds behind Villeneuve and gaining. Coulthard is 4th. Herbert is 5th. Alesi is 6th. Trulli is 7th. Barrichello is in 8th position. Fisichella is in 9th place. Ralf Schumacher is in 10th position in the Jordan. He'll only be stopping a couple of times because he's got hard compound tyres on. Jan Magnussen is out of the race. Morbidelli is out of the race. Mika Häkkinen is out of the race. Of the 22 cars that started on lap 22, 19 are left, and the last one is Mika Salo. And we know that the Williams team, because I'm looking across at them as I talk to you, is getting ready for Jacques Villeneuve to come in, and I don't think there's any sign of Damon Hill being about to do so. Martin, I suspect that Damon Hill will be on a 2-stop strategy.
Well, I do know he's scheduled to come in subject to traffic and race conditions on lap 25. It's when he was initially expected to come in. If he comes up behind some back markers, they may pull him in earlier. But it looks to me like all of the front runners are going to be 2-stopping at this time. So Damon's got some clear space ahead of him. No reason to pull him in any earlier than normal. There's going to be some very nervous Arrows mechanics in the pits. They've not been in a position so far this year where their pit stop is super critical.
Well, now, you saw Frentzen just about to dive past Diniz, Villeneuve having already done so, and as a result of the traffic, Damon Hill has extended his lead again. He's 5 seconds ahead of Villeneuve now, because the Canadian driver lost over 3 seconds in traffic on that lap, and that's given the Damon a big opportunity. Now, looking across the track on the left is Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. He's down in 12th place behind Nakano in the Prost.
Jordan there having a look at the inside of the Arrows. Yes, that's who's that? That's Fisichella. No, sorry, that's Ralf Schumacher passing Alesi for position. Ralf Schumacher moving into the top 10. And Irvine, you can see, has caught that group back up after his very early pit stop. Truly there. No, that's Nakano, I'm sorry. Nakano in the middle for good measure.
Yeah, well, Schumacher... Oh, and off goes the Benetton, and Schumacher is going through and taking Nakano. Now, Michael Schumacher is doing what Villeneuve was doing. He's fairly streaking through the field because he's obviously got a well-balanced motor car now. This is lap 23. He knows the Ferrari very well, naturally. Now, here's a replay. Let's see.
Well, that's Alesi running up on the curb and just simply running wide, and you get to a point of no return and you simply can't get it back on without just bouncing along the grass. It looks like we got a Minardi out of the race in the pit lane.
So Michael Schumacher up behind Nakano now, the first 10 on lap 24. Hill is 5.7 seconds ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. Hardly believable in the view of the past races this year, but it is wonderfully true. Frentzen is 3rd, Coulthard is 4th, Herbert is 5th. Trulli in the Prost is in 6th position. Rubens Barrichello is almost in the points again. He was in Monaco where he finished 2nd in the Stewart. Fisichella is in 8th position. Ralf Schumacher there, Nakano, and Michael Schumacher in 11th place. And Alesi, by going off, has dropped down to 12th position as we look at Damon Hill in the Arrows Yamaha, leading in Hungary before the spellbound gaze of well over 100,000 people. Now, the tyre covers, I can tell you, are off Jacques Villeneuve's car. Now, a pit stop here takes over 35 seconds, and by that I mean from coming into the pit lane and stopping and taking on tyres and fuel and leaving it again and getting up to speed. So this is going to be an enormous advantage to Damon. If he's got anything left in reserve, in comes Villeneuve. James.
Looking at the tyres coming off Villeneuve's car, they don't look too bad at all. I was just looking at Irvine's and they were a real mess. Terrible blistering. Meanwhile, David Coulthard has also come in. There's a stuck right front wheel nut. That's lost him a little bit of time, 11 seconds. I think it's 2-3 seconds. Well, I'll let Martin judge that by the amount of fuel that went in. But certainly that stuck front right one wheel nut certainly held him up, and we expect Damon any moment now as well.
And there's Coulthard coming out of the pit lane behind Villeneuve. That's confirmation of the fact that they're on a two-stop strategy. And coming up behind them is Trulli. That was Jarno Trulli. He's in 6th position. Then there was Barrichello. It's all closing up now, and it's going to get more and more exciting and more confusing.
Okay, Damon is in this lap. It's his 25th lap, so the team are very much on schedule. Damon Hill this time into the pits for a fresh set of tyres and a little drink for the engine.
And if they can get him out in less than 11 seconds from stopping at the pit until out again, he will be quicker than Villeneuve was. And Louise, here he comes.
Damon Hill makes his way down the pit lane. This is an incredibly tense moment for the Aris mechanics. They've had some problems with the pit stops in the past. Hill is coming very, very slowly down the pit lane. Anxious faces looking up, waiting for him to arrive. Here he is. He's in the pits. As I said, they've had some problems with this in the past. It's an area the whole team have been working on very, very hard. They were up late into the night last night making some modifications to the axles. Looking good, and he's away again.
And that was a terrific stop. 9 seconds for Damon Hill was 2 seconds faster than Jacques Villeneuve. Now, in the meantime, of course, the lead has changed. Damon Hill has dropped down the field. And in the meantime, Heinz-Harald Frentzen has seen his opportunity. He's now fastest man on the track. 1 minute 18.37. Damon Hill is back in, and Ralf Schumacher back in the race, and Ralf Schumacher comes in from 11th place.
Well, significantly, as we watch Schumacher's pit stop taking place, he's not a player in this race today at the moment. But significantly, I think I saw Damon come out of the pits in front of Johnny Herbert. That's going to put him significantly just down to 2nd place, despite having already made his stop. So that's good too. He's obviously still well ahead of Villeneuve. Frentzen leads the race, but he's yet to stop.
So let's recap. Damon Hill has stopped. Jacques Villeneuve has stopped. David Coulthard has stopped. And they are all top 6 runners. There is Jean Alesi leaving the pits as Frentzen goes through, completing the lap, and the Benetton joins, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen now on lap 27, the man that we are looking at in the Williams-Renault, the man who won the San Marino Grand Prix, is leading in Hungary, and the man he's leading is Damon Hill, and Hill has stopped and Frentzen has not, as Johnny Herbert comes in.
Yes, when you say stopped, you mean stop for a pit stop, Murray, I'm sure. Johnny Herbert, a little bit of smoke we saw early on in that shot, so he's got some kind of transmission problem. I'd be surprised if he can recover from that, but let's see what he's going to try again. Now you can see, I think he's got a problem with his left rear somewhere there.
Jolly good stop, nevertheless, 7.3 seconds. That's the fastest one that we've had in vision. And we're on lap 27. Now, there's still another 50 laps to go. And you can see now that Heinz-Harald Frentzen there in the Williams is right up behind Gerhard Berger.
Okay, can I say I was talking a lot of rubbish about Johnny Herbert. We think he locked his wheels coming into the pits to bring the speed of the car down on the white line where he must be down to 80 k's. And of course that was Herbert's pit stop. No particular problems. The smoke was tyres locking. You just saw the Benetton doing the same thing there in the background.
And Damon obviously being very, very careful indeed, using all his experience to make sure he doesn't exceed the mandatory 75-mile-an-hour limit. Now Berger, the man who won in Germany, is right at the back of the field here. Well, not right at the back. He's well down the field. He was in 13th position when he came in. He was about to be lapped, and he's now getting out of the pits. We're on lap 28, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen leads, but has yet to stop. And Damon Hill is catching him. Damon Hill on new tyres is catching Frentzen, who I say again has yet to stop. There is the German, and he's got terrific pressure on him. He's had all sorts of problems, some of them psychological, very few of them to do with the car. And Damon Hill has taken 2 seconds out of Frenson's lead on that one lap. An incredible, dynamic performance by the Englishman. Frenson leads, Hill is second, Villeneuve is 9 seconds behind Hill and has stopped. So Damon, in stopping and having a quicker stop than Villeneuve, and now running actually marginally slower, but nevertheless has extended his lead over the man who is effectively second, because taking into account that Frenson is going to have to come in, Hill is effectively leading the race. But Frenson now is on his 29th lap, and I'm beginning to wonder, oh, and a great flash of flame from the back of the, was that just overrun or was it a problem, do you think?
Didn't see it happen, Murray, I have to confess. I was looking at something out of the window here in the pit lane.
Great spout of flame shot out of the back of Frenson's car, and you don't expect... Oh, and he's gone, surely. Another puff of smoke from Frenson's Williams Renault. First of all, we saw flame, then we saw smoke. Now, that's going to be something surely more than dodgy mixture or oil dropping on a hot part of the engine, but there he goes again.
Well, that's oil. He's burning oil on lifting off the throttle there, and you get a crankcase pressure. The oil's going past the rings. This is my guess. Somebody's saying they saw something fly off the car down the pit straight. That's an oil being burnt through the exhaust system. And there's the offending piece. Look, that somebody correctly reported as having come off the car. You can see it laying on the floor. And I'd be surprised if Frenson goes too much further.
In he comes, in he comes. He's the only man in the field now who has not stopped, and now he's doing so. Very late, this is lap 29. I'm watching for Damon Hill to go through in the lead. So, Frenson draws to a standstill. Let's see if they do anything to the car. I'm watching the car with one eye, watching the track with the other to see Damon Hill go through. And the seconds are ticking past all the time. And it looks like a pretty leisurely pit stop to me. It looks to me as though Heinz-Harald Frenson is about to retire from the Hungarian Grand Prix. Yet another retirement. That'll make 5. They switch the engine off. Martin.
Well, that's just oil coming through the exhaust pipes. The very dramatic, but not actually in itself a big problem. But clearly there's something wrong with the oil system of the car in some way. We'll no doubt, the ITV pit crew will find out exactly what the problem is. He doesn't look too impressed, does he?
Well, I wonder when things can start to go right for poor Heinz-Harald. He's won a race, he's had a second place, he's had a 4th, but everything has gone rotten for him. Well, now that's his 5th retirement from an 11 races, and Damon serenely sails on, and he's now in the lead again, of course, having stopped as they wheel the Williams away. Yet another race when both the Williams are going to fail. No, one of the Williams at least is going to fail to finish, and there have been others where both of them have failed to finish.
There goes the part now. Look, you can see it going off to the left, just lost in the heat haze there. So something flying off of that Williams Renault.
So on lap 30, what is the gap between Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve, and is the Canadian catching the Arrows Yamaha? Well, Damon goes through now and completes his 30th lap in this 77-lap race, and the gap was 10 seconds, just 10.1 seconds to be exact. There's the whole length of the start and finish straight between him and Jacques Villeneuve, who's going to come through next as Damon goes into turn 2, and the gap now is 12.3 seconds. Damon has increased his lead in that lap by 3 seconds to 12. Superb, brilliant.
Yes, just thinking back again on the Frenson thing, there's not a lot of smoke to go with that flame, so maybe it's fuel rather than oil that's being burned. But Damon Hill looking extremely comfortable, putting in good lap times. He's got quite a little bit of traffic ahead of him here, and the race is definitely yo-yoing around. The gap to the leader is yo-yoing around, but the traffic is playing a big part in that. But whenever he has clear air, he just seems to be playing fast enough to lead the race easily.
Yeah, he's catching Tasso Marquez now in the Minardi with the yellow wing in front of him. So Oh, and out goes the steward of Rubens Barrichello. That's yet another retirement. And on lap 31 in this incredible race, and it's a totally unpredictable situation, Damon Hill is completing his 31st lap now, and he's 12 seconds ahead of Villeneuve second. He's 14 seconds ahead of Coulthard third. He's 19 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, who has now come up into fourth place and is lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Damon Hill. Michael Schumacher is on a roll.
Jetzt an den Koteletten an der Seite, die haben also alle die gleichen Frisuren wie Heinz Harald.
Der teaminterne Einheitslook.
Ja.
Noch immer montags wird gekämpft bei Williams.
Aber man sollte die Höhen und Tiefen der Rennerei möglichst nivellieren. Man soll nicht daran glauben, dass man nur Pech hat oder nur daran glauben, dass alles im Himmel wächst. Man muss das schon ein bisschen relativieren alles und einfach an sich selbst glauben und eben so gut wie möglich fahren. Das wollte ich damit nur sagen.
Und man muss hoffen, dass irgendwie sich das Ganze doch noch zum Guten wendet. Zum Beispiel bei Ralf Schumacher, der hat jetzt seine schnellste Rennrunde gefahren, 1:20,741, liegt aber trotzdem nur auf Platz 10. Es führt Damon Hill vor Jacques Villeneuve und David Coulthard. Michael Schumacher auf Platz 4. Wir machen auch einen Boxenstopp. Bis gleich.
Lap 33 at the Hungaroring, coming up towards half distance. Hill leads Villeneuve on the left of your picture by 12 seconds.
Michael Schumacher in the pit lane for his second stop. Remember, he stopped very early on. It looks so slow, it's just 50 miles an hour the speed limit here. All of the drivers and mechanics wanted it slower than some circuits because it's so narrow and so crowded. Second stop for Michael. Here we go. Get the fuel off and away, 7 seconds. That's a very good stop.
Now, Michael had worked his way up to fourth position. Remember, he had a problem earlier on, dropped right back through the field, came in, that's his second pit stop. He's the first one of the leaders, and we now join David Coulthard, and the race order is Hill, who is 13 seconds ahead of the car that we're with, Jacques Villeneuve, which is the car in front, and as you can see, Coulthard, who is under half a second behind Villeneuve, is catching the Williams Renault. Hill leads Villeneuve second, Coulthard is third. Johnny Herbert has come up into fifth position, and I'm going to stop there because I need to see Michael Schumacher to work out where he is in the race at the moment. And in the meantime, James Allen is with, no, we've got news from James, I'm sorry, about Frentzen.
That's right, Murray. I'm not speaking to you at the moment, but I have spoken to the engineers now. There were two things wrong with that Williams. There was oil coming out of the back. You could see that. That was one problem. But the reason for retirement was actually that the fuel engagement nozzle on the car had moved so that the Williams mechanics could not get the fuel nozzle on. Therefore, they could not refuel the car, and that's why he retired. Incidentally, just studied the tyres that came off Schumacher's car. A lot less blistering on that set. It's a really great fight back by Michael Schumacher after that first set of tyres just blistered so badly.
Here. And now Williams, from 22 starts this year, have had 10 retirements. 5 each for Villeneuve and Frentzen. And we really don't expect that from the Grove team, who've dominated Formula One for so long, have got so used to seeing both of them start at the front of the grid and finish first and second, but it's different this year. And David Coulthard now, the second of these two cars, the McLaren Mercedes, on his 35th lap. You can see the gap between himself and Villeneuve. And meantime, Damon Hill is still well in front. When I say well in front, I mean 12 seconds in front with nearly half the race completed. One stop gone, he's going to stop once more. So I suspect are all the others. Michael Schumacher has been in twice. And Johnny Herbert is now in fourth position. Michael Schumacher, even after his pit stop, is still in the top 6. He's in fifth position, ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine. Now coming towards us, behind Berger, who is 15th. There is Villeneuve second, Coulthard third, and if you could look 11 seconds backwards down the track, if you see what I mean, you would have seen Johnny Herbert in the Sauber in fourth place.
David Coulthard's car looking very, very good. Looks very easy for him from the in-car stuff that we keep seeing here. He's not having to fight the car at all. Looks very easy for him. He's in good shape. He was the fastest car on the track on the last lap. and looking good there. As Eddie Irvine, again you saw the blue smoke as he locked up to get the car down to 50 miles an hour. And here he is moving in. He looks out of the side of the car. You can't see the marks you have to stop on. Looking at the front of the car, you have to look down to the side because the view is blocked by the chassis and your own dashboard. So out in 7 seconds, identical to Michael Schumacher. Another good Ferrari effort.
Yeah, and as Eddie Irvine leaves the pit lane, we can join Louise Goodman with Mika Häkkinen.
Mika, an early stop for you. What was the problem with the car?
Yeah, it was definitely early start. I lost hydraulic pressure from the car, so I didn't have a gearbox anymore. So only what I'm going to do is to switch off the engine, drive side of the track and come back and speak with the engineers and try to understand how we can fix these kind of things, not to happen again in the next race.
It was a busy start for you. You were looking good for a while.
Oh, it was looking good. It was exciting. I was a bit blocked by Villeneuve. I probably could overtake him inside, but it was too risky because I knew he was going to close the door anyway. So I decided to go outside. And obviously Irvine got a good start because I was stuck behind the Villeneuve. But very exciting first corner. I liked it. Exciting.
Well, poor old Mika Häkkinen, that's his fourth retirement this year. Coulthard's dropped out 4 times as well. We're watching him now in 3rd position. And I was talking about Williams not finishing cars this year. It's been the same with McLaren, sadly. But the Williams and the McLaren, the sole one of each make left in the race, are battling. And we're with David Coulthard looking ahead at Jacques Villeneuve as Damon Hill maintains that 12-second gap. This is lap 37. And he's 12 seconds ahead. Villeneuve in front of us now with David Coulthard visually getting closer. Johnny Herbert is 13 seconds behind us now in 4th position. So Damon Hill is leading. Johnny Herbert is 4th. Eddie Irvine is in 10th position in the Ferrari after his stop.
And that was Denit's 4th position there. That wasn't Damon Hill you saw there in the arrows. Denit's passing Verstappen for 12th place. Probably had a wake-up call having Damon whistle past him like that in the same car leading the race. But 3 Brits in the top 4. And I think if Coulthard could just get around Villeneuve somehow, he would be chasing after Damon. He looks like he's got a very good car.
Good news for Brian Hart, incidentally, who is the man whose engine is powering Ukko Katayama's Minardi. I know Brian isn't here because he's had a tooth operation problem and he'll be watching this race. Well, your man Ukko, Brian, is in 14th position. Tasso Marquez in the other one is in 17th place. We do hear rumours that Brian's working on a new engine, but whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, there are lots of rumours about that, but here we are on board with David Coulthard now, the little flick-flack at 11, coming in over the curb, mind the bollard, and you launch down, and you can't believe how late you brake in there, and pull the teardrops out of the corner of your eye. There's a lot of downforce on the cars, and you brake impossibly late, and the car somehow slows down. But you can see Coulthard is being held up by Villeneuve. He needs to get slightly more aggressive with him and somehow get past him like Damon Hill did earlier in the race.
Berger passes Verstappen. Now both of those cars are almost a lap behind Villeneuve, who's catching them. Now Jos Verstappen will be concentrating on his battle with Berger.
That's right, a good opportunity here for David. He should try to make something out of this. He wants to stay as close as possible, because while Jacques to be the first one to do that, the Tyrrell's lifted off. That's a pity for David. The Tyrrell's just lifted off, and that opportunity's gone, because often you have to seize a half a chance on this circuit, and back markers are one of the best opportunities.
Well, a good bit of driving by Verstappen, because he sacrificed time in his battle with Katayama. But my goodness, David Coulthard that we're with is really going for it. The man from Twynham in Scotland, the winner of the Australian Grand Prix. He's equal 8th in the World Championship with his teammate Mika Häkkinen, who's retired, we know that. And of course, it's believed that there's a battle between the two of them to retain their place in the McLaren team next year.
Well, we're watching David Coulthard, but fellow Brit Damon Hill now 15 seconds in the lead and comfortably the fastest man on the track on the last lap.
Yes, 1 minute 20.5 compared with all the others well up into the 121s. They've got traffic problems. Princeton has made the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:18.3, which is not an all-time, well, just a minute, it's jolly near an all-time. It's 7/100ths of a second outside the all-time 3.5 litre Williams-Renault lap record, 1992, Nigel Mansell. But Princeton won't be going any faster now. He's out of the race, and coming towards us is Michael Schumacher. Behind him is Fisichella. Schumacher is fifth. Fisichella is sixth. Schumacher is fifth, and Fisichella is sixth.
Yes, Fisichella has been minding his own business, driving a very, very good race, often down into the 19s, and way ahead of teammate Ralf Schumacher. Nakano also, he's ahead of Trulli in the Prost, and he's just running one place behind Fisichella. Two guys there, 6th and 7th, doing a good job, but Fisichella looks like he's about to be all over the back of Michael.
Interesting point, Martin. Fisichella, we know, is on hard compound Goodyears. The others are on softs. He may well be making one pit stop less. He's in 6th position in the points now. That could well move him up.
That's right. Michael looks like he's beginning to struggle again on this, what is his 3rd set of tyres. So Fizzy on the harder tyres, and Michael's got his mirrors full of very bright yellow Jordan.
And over the line goes Villeneuve to complete his 40th lap. He's on lap 41. Behind him is David Coulthard. They're cutting their way through midfield then at the present moment. And it's Gerhard Berger limping along in 14th place. His teammate Jean Alesi is 11th. Here are the top 10 as you watch the battle between Villeneuve and Coulthard for 2nd place. Hill is... I just can't get over this. He's now 18 seconds ahead of this battle. He's lapping consistently a second a lap faster than Villeneuve in the Williams-Renault and then Coulthard in the McLaren Mercedes. Johnny Herbert is 4th in the Sauber, 14 seconds behind the battle for 2nd place. And we're watching now the battle between Michael Schumacher for 5th position with Giancarlo Fisichella behind him. 7th is Nakano, the Japanese driver in the Prost. 8th is Ralf Schumacher. 9th is Jarno Trulli. 10th is Eddie Irvine, Ferrari.
So let me try and explain to you why I think Hill is leading this Grand Prix compared to earlier ones in the year where it was a complete disaster. It's very tight around here. You spend most of your time in a corner. Damon is very smooth. He knows this circuit well. He is very, very good here. They've never really had a problem with the balance of the chassis through the year. Plus, the new D-Spec Yamaha has been more reliable and more powerful, but the engine plays a much lesser part of going around this lap than, say, Hockenheim at the last Grand Prix. All of those together, plus the Arrows team just gelling, and a lot of new people thrown into a new team at the beginning of the year over the winter, and suddenly it's coming together, and Damon is responding beautifully.
Martin, with my reputation, I am not going to say anything except that Damon Hill is proving, not that we needed proof, that he's a thumping good driver, and if he gets the right machinery, he'll show them the way home.
Well, it's very timely for Damon while there's a few top seats unsettled, a lot of household names, a lot of key players not yet signed up for next year, and as Gerhard did last time in Hungary, then Damon Hill is doing here, last time in Hockenheim, Damon Hill's very much doing here, saying, don't forget me. And this is Fisichella all over the back of Michael,
who is fighting to stay in the points. Michael Schumacher is 5th on 2 points. Giancarlo Fisichella, one of the youngest drivers in the race, 24 years old, and it's only his first full season. He's harrying the Ferrari every inch of the way on harder tyres.
Well, he can't pass him now until the pit straight. He's got to do as the others did. Stay close to him in the last corner. Michael's car is pathetic in the last corner for whatever reason. Remember, this is the T car. He smashed up his best car this morning in the warm-up, the car that put him on pole position, and now he's been fighting this thing ever since the race started. Fizzy has to just stay behind him into the last corner. And then don't get too untidy, don't get your tyres dirty, Giancarlo, just stay with him. You can't pass him now until the pit straight and dive down the inside. Now stay with him, he's running a little bit wide, now he's missed part of his opportunity. He might just get a good slingshot from there. Schumacher's going to be easing the car to the middle of the road, saying, you're going to have to go the long way and the dirty way. Now you see Fisichella wasted his opportunity, now he's gone and spun off. He wasted that chance by trying too hard, 2 corners too early, and this is the net result.
But he's still, if he's got the engine running, and I don't think he has.
No, he blew it. He stalled the engine, and on quite a difficult part of the racetrack too. That's downhill. It's unsighted there for the other drivers, and he wasn't ready to make the move. As we said, Schumacher just pulled over and said, "You're going to have to work for this, boy." And Fisichella lost his head and lost the back end of his car. Then he lost the engine. Now he's got to walk back and tell Eddie Jordan all about it.
Yeah, the name of the game is inexperience, and you can see from his body language that he's totally crestfallen, and understandably and justifiably so. And up into third, into the new position, to fourth place goes Johnny Herbert with Michael Schumacher there in the Ferrari. Fisichella gets a ride home, but it's an interview he's not going to want at all. Eddie Jordan is not going to be at all pleased with Ralf Schumacher, his teammate, down in 7th position.
Well, he needs to look at that on the video when he gets home and understand why he didn't have his car in the right place, which was underneath Michael Schumacher's gearbox in the last corner, and not, here we see now from a different angle, there's no space there and it's very dirty. The track falls away from you, and very quickly you're past the point of no return. You should then just bury the throttle at that point, even if it's a big pall of blue tyre smoke. You should bury the throttle and keep the engine running, instead of thinking, oh no, I think I'm going to spin it. And he didn't do that.
And he's paid the price. Lap 44, Damon Hill still leads. He not only still leads, and there he is, but he's 20 seconds ahead of the battle between Villeneuve and Coulthard. Villeneuve is having to protect his position every inch of the way. Coulthard is attacking every inch of the way. Damon Hill is driving round on his own with a clear track in front of him most of the time, although he's coming up to Gerhard Berger to lap him now. But Gerhard is a very experienced gentleman. This is his 203rd Grand Prix. He knows what the score is, and I have little doubt that he will let Damon Hill pass, because he will know from the way that the Arrows Yamaha has borne down on him that there's a much faster man on the track and that it's time to move over. Hill leads by 21 seconds now. Villeneuve and Coulthard together, 2nd and 3rd. Johnny Herbert up into 4th place. 2 British drivers in the top 4. Michael Schumacher is 5th. Shinji Nakano, who has scored 1 World Championship point in his career in the Prost, is up into 6th position in the points, ahead of Ralf Schumacher, Eddie Irvine, Trulli and Alesi, 10th.
Die Spitzengeschwindigkeit nicht so hoch von ihm. Naja, doch 279, das geht gerade noch so, aber jedenfalls sein Auto liegt mit Abstand von allen am besten bei diesem Rennen.
Damon Hill vor Villeneuve, dann Coulthard, Johnny Herbert, Michael Schumacher, der jetzt wieder eine 1:22,3 gefahren hat, auf Platz 5. Nakano auf 6 und Ralf Schumacher auf Platz 7. 1:20,270. Also er jetzt doch konstant in den 1:20ern. Doch noch in Richtung Punkte unterwegs mit den harten Reifen. Schön Platz gemacht da vom Tyrrell. Ganz ordentlich Platz gemacht für Villeneuve und Coulthard. Jetzt laufen sie wieder auf den nächsten Benetton auf. Die Benetton absolut enttäuschend heute. Alesi 10., Berger 13. Also da geht gar nichts zusammen, und so schnell geht es beim Formel 1 Rennen. Berger beim letzten Rennen noch der strahlende Held, der große Sieger. Jetzt weit hinten mit runden Rückstand. Da geht ein enttäuschter Fisichella.
Berger absolut nicht gewillt, da klein beizugeben vorne.
Und Damon Hill kann es nur recht sein, sein Vorsprung wird dadurch wieder ein bisschen...
Lap 47 at the tortuous Hungaroring. No change at the front. Damon Hill leads by 22.5 seconds. Michael Schumacher, that you see there, is in 5th place. Villeneuve and Coulthard are battling for 2nd position in respectively the Williams Renault and the McLaren, ahead of Johnny Herbert, who is 4th. This is the battle for 5th, and believe it or not, the man who's in 6th place is Shinji Nakano, the Japanese driver in the Prix.
Yes, we just saw Michael Schumacher having to fend off Nakano from coming up the inside of him there. I mean, he's going to be wondering what on earth's going on, having dominated the entire weekend to date. Started this race from pole position. He's got Nakano snapping at his heels. He will be amazed. But if I was McLaren, I would bring Coulthard in early now. He can't pass Villeneuve. He's got no speed advantage anywhere in particular. I think he's just generally quicker around the lap. But David Coulthard's been stuck there behind Villeneuve for too long. Just 4 or 5 tenths, sometimes 2, sometimes 6 tenths behind. But generally, he's not going anywhere. And if they want to win the race, they must come in, pit before Williams. I'll put some fresh tyres on it, and hopefully David will do a great outlap and just leapfrog in front of Villeneuve. Then I think he can go and have a go at Damon Hill's 23.8 second lead.
That would be good to see, but now let's talk about the World Championship. It's very interesting, because Jacques Villeneuve, who is 10 points behind Michael Schumacher when this race began, is in 2nd place on 6 points. Michael Schumacher is in 5th position on 2 points. The gap between them is therefore down by 4 points as Nakano from 6th position comes in for a tyre change. And that means to say that if things stayed the way they are now, and I doubt that they will, they seldom do at the Hungaroring, it would mean that Michael Schumacher was still 6 points ahead of Villeneuve at the end of the race in the Drivers' Championship. And we're expecting Damon Hill to come in shortly. He's on his 49th lap now. Any time from, I would have said that was a bit early actually, on a 2-stop strategy. I would have expected him round about lap 55, but we'll see.
He was scheduled to come in on lap 25 and lap 50, Murray, to split the race into more or less equal segments. That'll leave him a 27-lap run then to the end of the race.
Well, there's a sporting chance that he might get out of the pits ahead of Villeneuve. Well, no, I don't think so on reflection. Stops are taking something like 30 seconds, a bit more than that, from entering the pit lane until leaving it. Damon at the moment is on a 24-second gap. So he would rejoin the race probably in 4th position, but he would have had his 2 stops, and Villeneuve and Coulthard, and of course Johnny Herbert is 4th, would still have to come in. And it looks, Martin, as though McLaren have not heard your advice to bring Coulthard in. He's still there. Well,
if I was Macca, I mean, I'd have that car in the pits now, but then what do I know?
Yep. Well, a terrific scrap. This has been going on for lap after lap, and Damon Hill goes through now and takes Tasso Marquez in the Minardi Hart, running reliably in 15th position. 5 places down from Ukyo Katayama, the Japanese driver, who is in 10th position. The best finish that the Minardi team have had this year is 10th place. Both Katayama and Marquez have had a 10th place. And Damon Hill, just look at that arrows. Just looking smooth, secure, serene, and Damon is driving it absolutely brilliantly.
That last lap was a nasty lap for Damon in that he lost over 4 seconds. I can only assume it's behind that Minardi that we've just seen. So that was pretty bad news, that one. The gap back down to 22 seconds, but I think it'll dent his chances too much.
Yeah, and you would expect, of course, that as he pulls away from Tasso Marquez in the background, who he has lapped, when Villeneuve and Coulthard come up to the Brazilian, they will have just as much of a problem getting past him as Damon did. And it could be David Coulthard's opportunity, if he's still out there and hasn't come in for that second tyre stop of his, which we're expecting very shortly, for him to attack Jacques Villeneuve. Now, Damon Hill is on lap 51 now, so I imagine I can't see the end of the pit lane from where I am, unfortunately. I can see the Williams end, and I can see the Ferrari end, and I can see the Ferrari mechanics and the Williams mechanics coming out. So Villeneuve and Schumacher will presumably be making a stop very shortly, and Damon Hill's mechanics, I believe, are out.
Well, this is outrageous. We've got arrows.
Coulthard in.
David coming into the pits. You can see have arrows, Prost, Jordan, McLaren you see now, Benetton, Ferrari and Williams mechanics all in the pits for the same lap.
Now, what about David Coulthard and Villeneuve? Well, Coulthard and McLaren must have heard what Martin said. They brought him in, and there in the background is the Ferrari.
Go for it, David. You've got to nail this car on the outlap to get yourself ahead of Villeneuve. I mean, don't spin off, but go for it.
By that, of course, we mean that when Villeneuve comes in, if Coulthard has put in a really, really quick lap, he could just get past the exit of the pit lane as Jacques Villeneuve arrives there. So we're on lap 51. Damon Hill has still only made one stop. Villeneuve and Damon Hill is now coming in. This is his second stop. Nice and slow. James Allen.
Yes, the tyre covers are off for Damon Hill. Again, a tremendous atmosphere down here. I was just talking to Les Jones, the chief mechanic, who was with Damon at Williams. He was his #1 mechanic. A lot of scuffing on Damon's right front tyre. Nice and methodical. Look at the lack of haste. Speed, but not haste. Not rush. No damage. A little bit of problem dropping the clutch. Nice stop. Go on, Damon.
I was there when Tom Walkinshaw said to them, I don't want the fastest stop of the day. I just want a nice, calm stop. And Villeneuve into the pits. There we go. This is a critical stop for David Coulthard. He took 7 seconds. What's Villeneuve going to be? It's less. No, it's not. I'm looking at the wrong figure. Villeneuve slightly more. It's going to be touch and go. You saw Coulthard coming into the pit straight. Can he get there before Villeneuve gets out of the pits? I don't think he will.
And in comes...
yes, he has. Yes, he has. No, he's run wide. Oh, David, what did you do that for?
David Coulthard sees all his hard work lost because Jacques Villeneuve dives on the inside, chops him off at turn 2. He's every right to do so. That is Ralf Schumacher, who was 5th when he came in. Damon Hill has stopped, and now his big brother Michael, 7 years older than Ralph, coming in and coming out. And the other Schumacher behind him. And so Hill has stopped twice, Villeneuve has stopped twice, Hill is still in the lead, Coulthard still battling, and they're having another go there. That was Villeneuve, and Coulthard is he realises that Villeneuve's on cooler tyres, and if he doesn't get him this lap, he's going to have a heck of a job to get him on any other lap. We've seen them fighting, and Villeneuve is streaking away.
Well, you're allowed to move across the track once, you are not allowed to weave in Formula 1. Villeneuve there was touch and go, but he'll get away with that. The stewards are not going to be calling him in, but you're not allowed to block dangerously another driver. But it's so crucial here. And that slight slip of David as he tried to go, he saw the moment, tried to seize it, went wide around the first corner, letting Villeneuve through. What a shame. And Lacey on a very long stop. Looks as if they've got a left rear problem. Rear problem, and he's away now.
Two very tough campaigners in Jacques Villeneuve and David Coulthard. Here they are, but you do not mess with Jacques Villeneuve. And we're on lap 53 now. There are 24 laps left, and Damon Hill is 26 seconds ahead of this battle.
And the better news than that even is the people who are pursuing him are fighting each other like crazy and watching each other. So they're really not focusing on Damon too much. They're focusing on each other, so good news. But see why I thought they should have brought the McLaren in a lap earlier. On fresh tyres are everything around here. You can find 2 seconds a lap very quickly, and that would have leapfrogged him. He wouldn't have had to have that scrap into the first corner. I think he would have been well clear.
Well, just don't get any ideas about becoming a team manager, Martin. That's all I can say. Lap 53 now, and the battle continues. Hill has just gone round in 1 minute 42.6 compared with Villeneuve and Coulthard 1 minute 43.8, 1.2 seconds slower. There is Hill, 53 laps completed. Watch the caption and you'll see Villeneuve and Coulthard coming up together, second and third, and you'll see the time gap between them as they approach turn 14. And remember, Hill is down the start and finish straight, round turn 1, into turn 2, as they complete the lap, and the gap between them 27 seconds between Villeneuve, Coulthard, Damon Hill.
Well, apparently my team are very happy that Coulthard didn't get past Villeneuve. The news comes up from the pit. Arrows are pleased that Coulthard didn't get past because, like me, they think he could start coming back at Damon and putting Damon under pressure.
Yeah, but Martin, I am astounded when you look, in all seriousness, at Jacques Villeneuve, who this year, the French-Canadian in the Williams, has won 4 Grand Prix and was a lot of people's tips, including mine, for world champion. And look at this race he's driving against Damon.
Well, Damon's got the better car, the better tyres and the better style around this racetrack. Villeneuve's been on the defensive virtually all afternoon, as has Michael Schumacher. So when David Coulthard falls off to sleep this evening, he's going to have a picture of the gearbox and rear wing of that Williams in front of him. So and I've had many races here where you spend the entire race behind the same car. This is Jordan having a go at the inside of that's Nakano. Schumacher passing quite easily Nakano. Looks almost as if he frightened Nakano out of the way.
So now Louise Goodman has finally tracked Heinz-Harald Frentzen down. What's the news?
Heinz-Harald, can you tell us what the problem was?
Well, I have to find the right word in English. It is the fuel nozzle which broke down, so the fuel kept running out, and two laps before I went into the pits, there were coming flames out of the car, so I had to pit in early and stop the race there.
We can see those flashes coming out of the back of the car. What can you feel inside the cockpit when that's happening?
Well, I haven't felt anything, any temperature. I only saw the flames coming up there. That was the only thing I saw.
Martin, as we watch Villeneuve and Coulthard...
That's an Arrows going slowly. Which one is that? I think it's Diniz, but an Arrows going very, very slowly there in the background. Well, there's Damon, so it's not him. It's Pedro Diniz, obviously some kind of technical problem.
Oh, take a deep breath of relief on behalf of Damon's fans, of sympathy on behalf of Diniz's many fans, particularly in Brazil. But if you're in... There is Diniz out of the race. But, Damon, if you're in a lead car with someone right behind you, like Villeneuve is with Coulthard, in what ways does it inhibit your progress?
Well, you have to start defending your line. Instead of taking the ideal line through the corner, you find yourself defending and taking, you know, the dirty line or whatever, just to block the other driver. And that way you're not just looking down the road and paying attention and just homing in and that last half metre of braking to eke out every 1/10 of a second through the lap. Your concentration is diluted by watching the guy behind. Here they are now, still really, David can't make any impression on him. As soon as he gets into the dirty air that's coming off of the rear wing of that Williams, and it's particularly dirty air, particularly disturbed air, because they're running such enormous wings on the back. They're like parachutes around here. You can see how many elements there are in the wing and the angle of attack, and it really does upset the airflow over your car. Pedro Diniz, battery voltage problems apparently.
Lap 56, so battery problem for Pedro Diniz. I was just wondering what had happened to the Arrows Yamaha, for fairly obvious reasons. And on lap 57, Damon Hill in the sole Arrows Yamaha that is left is now pulling away from Jacques Villeneuve and Coulthard. As Martin has so eloquently described the situation, they are holding each other up. Villeneuve is having to take a less than perfect line to keep Coulthard behind him. Coulthard just can't get past the Williams. And how he will be ruing not having come in earlier. And Eddie Irvine, 4th position, comes in. Race order lap 57. Hill leads Villeneuve and Coulthard by 28 seconds. Eddie Irvine was in 4th position. He was only 8 seconds ahead of Johnny Herbert, so the Sauber will have gone ahead. I didn't see it happen. And there are the two Schumachers, Michael, who is ahead of his brother, and Eddie Irvine is now behind them as we join the race leader.
Yes, Irvine's going to find himself behind Nakano as well for good measure, so Nakano's still going well in the Prost. Damon looking absolutely peerless there, as he has done when he's won the 2 races before, but Everything looking fine, no signs of any particular problems. I've only seen him having one scare when Gerhard Berger lifted very kindly for him into quite a difficult corner, and it somewhat surprised Damon, as I think it would have surprised most drivers.
Sensation wäre ein Sieg heute.
Ja, der dritte Platz war schon gigantisch, also das war schon fast ein Sieg. Und was heute da abläuft, das ist ganz unglaublich. Also ich habe das schon lange nicht mehr erlebt, dass ein Auto dermaßen aus den Tiefen kam und plötzlich so vorne rumfährt. Das ist sensationell. Die Frage, was Ralf macht. Hilft es seinem Bruder, dass er auf jeden Fall den einen Punkt dazu bekommt? Könnte er sich eigentlich revanchieren. Aber ich meine, 6. Platz, 1 Pünktchen.
Und immer noch das gleiche Bild. Coulthard scheint mindestens gleich, wenn nicht sogar schneller zu sein als Villeneuve, aber er kommt einfach nicht vorbei.
Ja, er wäre schneller, wenn er vorbeikommen würde, aber da das nicht klappt, ist das akademisch das Ganze. Da muss ich mit Platz 3 im Moment begnügen. Er greift ab und zu mal an, dann kommt er ihm sehr nah. War nochmal kleine Fehler von Villeneuve dabei, aber dann, so wie hier, jetzt ist er wieder zurück. Jetzt läuft allerdings Villeneuve auf Katayama auf, dass er aber gleich vorbeikommt.
Und für Coulthard und vielleicht noch mehr für Mika Häkkinen, der mit einem technischen Defekt seinen McLaren Mercedes schon längst abgestellt hat, muss das ja ganz bitter sein, dass dieser Damon Hill jetzt da vorne wegfährt, denn der wird ohnehin schon als kommender Mann bei McLaren Mercedes gehandelt. Es gibt Gerüchte, die sagen, Adrian Newey hat gesagt, Hill muss auf jeden Fall kommen, hat das sogar im Vertrag stehen. Und mit einem Sieg macht er sich natürlich noch wertvoller. Aber jetzt kommen wir zum Duell Michael gegen Ralf. Ein Tyrrell vor den beiden. Dahinter dann schon wieder zu sehen Nakano und Eddie Irvine.
Back at Hungary with uninterrupted commentary for the rest of the race. Not a break in sight, but what about Damon Hill leading Jacques Villeneuve and Coulthard by 29 seconds. Herbert is fourth, and here are the battling Schumacher brothers, Michael in the Ferrari, Ralph in the Jordan, a situation that we have never had in the previous 10 Grand Prix. It's only Ralph Schumacher's 11th Grand Prix. It's his brother Michael's 95th Grand Prix. But Michael is struggling. He's in the spare Ferrari, and the two brothers are not going to be deferring to each other. Ralph is just as anxious to get past Michael as Michael is to keep Ralph behind him. And particularly because Michael Schumacher wants 2 World Championship points rather than 1 to reduce the gap between himself and Villeneuve to the minimum, or rather keep it at the maximum.
Exactly right, and Michael needs every point he can get from the World Championship, but remember, Michael's on the softer tyre, the wrong tyre as it's turned out for today. Ralph chose the harder tyre, he's got a better car, and he's got a faster car than Michael, but he's got to get past him. What's he going to do? First time we've seen it all year. One day we're going to be talking about these two guys having run into each other. But remember, Fisichella had a bad, ham-fisted attempt at getting past Michael and fell off the road. Ralph's going to have to think it through, because I'm absolutely sure Michael's not going to let him through easily. He needs those points, as you rightly say.
Lap 61, and if the Damon Hill fans, having seen Pedro Diniz going off, are quaking in their boots and wondering what happened, the answer was that it was an alternator problem, and the team say that hopefully that's not something that should happen to anybody else who's left in the race, if you see what I mean. So Michael and Ralph battling away. V10 Ferrari, V10 Peugeot in the Jordan, the engine which the Jordan team are losing to the Prost team next year and replacing it with the Mugen Honda, which they're very pleased about, incidentally. And there's Johnny Herbert, who's fourth, so fourth, fifth, sixth, very close to each other on the track. There's only 4.8 seconds between Michael and Johnny Herbert. Johnny Herbert fourth, Michael Schumacher fifth, Ralf Schumacher sixth, and pushing very hard. And Damon Hill now is on his 61st lap, 30 seconds, as near as makes no difference, ahead of Villeneuve, who cannot pull away from Coulthard, who cannot catch the Williams ahead of him enough to make a bid for that second place. Johnny Herbert, Schumacher and Schumacher are some 23 seconds behind Coulthard. So we've got two distinct battles in the top six. Villeneuve and Coulthard for second place, Herbert, Schumacher and Schumacher for fourth position.
Well, you won't get through there, Ralph. No way. You'll actually lose ground now because you've had to get off the throttle longer because you took a more acute angle through the corner. You will never overtake him through there. Your best chances are going to be after this corner, down into turn 12, but better still, keep it neat and tidy and get in his slipstream. He's very slow through the last corner, and Ralph has just lost the car under braking, and now Michael's pulled away from him again. They've got to calm down and prepare for the right moment to pass around here.
Well, Michael Schumacher, of course, has got a lot more experience. There's Johnny Herbert than younger brother Ralph. And that's Nakano behind Schumacher, and he is in 7th position. Ralf Schumacher, I mean. So you see, Michael Schumacher is holding up his brother, as a result of which Nakano in the frost is catching them, and it's in the background is Eddie Irvine. So 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th and 8th together. Damon Hill leads, coming through now to complete another lap, getting closer and closer to the end of what could be a monumentally historic Hungarian Grand Prix. But more of that later. I'm watching my words very, very carefully. Damon Hill, lap 63 now, 14 laps to go. And the others in the top 10 behind Hill, Villeneuve, Coulthard. There are Villeneuve and Coulthard 2nd and 3rd. Johnny Herbert 4th, Michael Schumacher 5th, Ralf Schumacher 6th, just behind him Nakano 7th, just behind him Eddie Irvine 8th. There they are. Jarno Trulli has been lapped and is 9th. Gerhard Berger is 10th and has been lapped. 15 runners out of the 22 who started, and the other 5 are Katayama 11th, Alesi 12th, Verstappen 13th, Marquez 14th, Salo 15th, both the Tyrrells still in the running, and both the Minardis still in the running. And Michael Schumacher now desperately hanging on to that 5th position, because if Ralph can get past him, well, I don't think Nakano can, but we'll see.
Well, pinch me, Murray. Damon Hill is over half a minute ahead of the rest of this race.
Yes, I know. I'm picking my words with great care as the laps tick down and Damon stays out front, having, I remind you all, amazed us, and there is no other word, by taking 3rd position on the grid in a situation where he would have been quite happy to have been in the top 10, and then passing Villeneuve up into 2nd place, and then taking the lead and subsequently holding it. But look at this scrap. Schumacher, Nakano, Irvine.
Well, Michael Schumacher once again doing a good impression of a mobile chicane. He's already pitted 3 times. I'll be amazed if he makes a 4th, but he's still got 14 laps to go to the end of the race, so if he's not pitting again, there's going to be a big traffic jam behind him for the duration.
And I haven't uttered this word very much in the race, but it's worth mentioning, and you'll hear a lot more about it if the race runs to its conclusion, the way I expect it to. It's a Bridgestone-tired car that is in the lead. It's the Japanese firm's first year in Formula One, having done very well in almost every other category, Formula 3, sports cars and so on. And if they won a Grand Prix in their first season against the might and experience of Goodyear, who've done so much to keep Formula One going for so long, it would be an incredible achievement. But we've still got 12 laps to go before I can say anything confident in that respect.
Well, we heard Daddy Schumacher say in Hockenheim that he's not that interested in motor racing. He prefers water sports. I wonder what he's thinking now with his 2 sons nose to tail on the racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. But I take my hat off to Nakano too, because although Schumacher in front, Michael Schumacher, may be holding people up, the fact is that Nakano is equally holding up Eddie Irvine. That is Jos Verstappen in the pits, and is he out of the race? Yes, he is. Off comes the steering wheel. So that's another retirement for the Tyrrell, and that means there are now 14 runners left in the race, the last of which is Mika Salo as Verstappen gets out of his car. The two Tyrrells have been suffering, of course, as have the Minardis, from the fact that the V8 engine, whilst it lacks the absolute power of the V10 engines and is very suitable for Hungary, just isn't quite good enough to hold all the other cars in front. And Michael Schumacher is good enough at the present moment to hold those three cars behind. He's still on 2 World Championship points, compared with 6 for Jacques Villeneuve if the Canadian finishes in second place. And here again we see Damon Hill and Michael Schumacher.
That was Irvine passing Nakano in turn 3. Good move there from Irvine. We didn't see the lead up to it, but that's a brave place to overtake.
And Eddie Irvine is a brave man. He's a much more relaxed man in this race, because since the German Grand Prix, Ferrari have confirmed that Eddie Irvine is going to drive for them in 1998 for the 3rd year in succession, and is on his own admission it's taken a lot of pressure off him, and now he will be piling on the speed to close with Ralf Schumacher and move both the Ferraris up into the top 6, which will help them in the Constructors' Championship, of course. And at the present moment, the point situation in the Constructors' Championship is that Ferrari are 9 points ahead of Williams.
Okay, Ralph, keep it tight here now. Keep it nice and tight and try to... No, Ralph's not any better. And that's David Coulthard. Oh, no, out of 3rd place, David Coulthard. You saw the thing bumping along. He's obviously lost the engine. He's tried to restart it, and for whatever reason, it hasn't started. David Coulthard out of 3rd, leaving Johnny Herbert to move into that podium position.
Yes, Johnny Herbert up into 3rd position in the Sauber Petronas. The best finish he's had this year is 4th place, a double winner in the past with the Benetton team. Rotten luck, to put it mildly, for David Coulthard. Yet another retirement for McLaren, and that's the 5th race that David Coulthard has retired from in the 11 races that we've had so far this year. And Louise Goodman is in the Arrows garage. What's happening, Louise?
There's some very, very nervous people down here, I can tell you, Murray. But apparently, good news, Damon's just come on the radio talking to Tom Walkinshaw, the team boss. He's told him he's fine, he's comfortable, he's quite happy, and just carry on watching. He's hoping to make it to the finish.
How do they do that, Martin? How does a man talk calmly and dispassionately to his team boss when Damon's in the situation he's in?
Well, you press a little button on the steering wheel and start talking, Murray. It's the little speaker in the front of your crash helmet. But other than that, there's a bit of time around here, and you get used to people. You know, we can do more than one thing at a time as a Grand Prix driver, and you do get used to people sort of talking to you from time to time, but you tend to choose the straights or a non-critical part of the circuit. But it does suggest that everybody is nice and calm, and Damon is particularly calm on the radio.
It's getting towards countdown time, folks. This is lap 67 for Damon Hill. It's also lap 67 for Jacques Villeneuve, who's no longer got David Coulthard snapping at his rear wing, but is 31 seconds behind Damon Hill. And up into 3rd place, it's an alternator problem for David Coulthard, as it was for Pedro Diniz. Johnny Herbert is 3rd, but 27 seconds behind Villeneuve. Not much chance of a change there, because the pressure is off Villeneuve. Michael Schumacher that we're riding with, sorry, it's Eddie Irvine that we're with now. So both Ferraris are now in the points, because Ralf Schumacher is on 3 points and Eddie Irvine is on 1 point. 4 points for Ferrari, 6 points for Williams if Villeneuve finishes in 2nd position. So the gap in the Constructors' Championship will still be in favour of Ferrari, and very much so.
Well, of course, Coulthard falling out of the race is good news for Michael Schumacher if he can just keep Little Bro behind him, because that moves him 1 point closer to Villeneuve's 6 points he's currently in if he finishes 2nd.
And we're with Irvine. Eddie Irvine, who's driven for Jordan in the past. Johnny Herbert is up into 3rd position. From Britain, Damon Hill is leading. From Britain, Johnny Herbert is 2nd. From 3rd, from Canada, Jacques Villeneuve is 2nd. From Germany, Michael and Ralf Schumacher are 4th and 5th. And from Ireland, Eddie Irvine is in 6th position and going for Schumacher. As Damon Hill comes through, here he is. Look at the gap. That's between Villeneuve and Herbert, 2nd and 3rd, and Herbert is catching Villeneuve. Johnny Herbert is on a charge. Lap 69, 77 lap race. Herbert 3rd is starting to catch Villeneuve 2nd.
Yeah, he'll need a shortcut if he's going to catch him up completely, though, Murray. He's got 25 seconds to find. Yes, he is lapping faster, but not fast enough to worry Villeneuve.
And Damon Hill is now lapping a second a lap faster than Jacques Villeneuve. The gap is 33 seconds. There is the French-Canadian. Well, we've heard about how he's been defending his line with David Coulthard behind him as you watch Eddie Irvine go ahead of Shinji Nakano, 6th and 7th. There are the two Schumacher brothers. Damon Hill is on his 69th lap. The man who won the Hungarian Grand Prix in 1993 and 1995 for Williams, and it was actually his first ever Grand Prix victory, and he said yesterday after qualifying, "I always seem to go well here." Well, no matter what happens now, he's gone brilliantly this year.
Yes, if he wins today, he'll be buying a holiday home here or something. He very much enjoys himself, and his driving style, his smooth style, accurate style, very much suits this racetrack.
And if one of those McLaren seats is going for next year with Adrian Newey, their new technical director, and all the might of Mercedes-Benz behind the team, Damon Hill, no matter what happens now, has not done himself any harm at all for his chances of sitting in one of them next year. At the expense of who, I do not know. But we don't even know that it's true. It's a very strong rumour. And Hill is now on his 70th lap. Still 33 seconds ahead of Villeneuve. In fact, he's continuing to pull away. 4/10 of a second. He increased his lead by over the French-Canadian on the last lap. We're with Ralf Schumacher now. And dropping down towards turn 13, the left-hander, into the double right, turn 14, 180-degree bend, which they take at about 80 miles an hour. Michael Schumacher holding his 4th place and 3 World Championship points.
You know, I was just thinking, I wonder what Frank Williams is thinking when with Damon Hill out there in front of his 2 cars, but Frank's a racer. He will appreciate Damon's brilliant drive all weekend, his brilliant 3rd on the grid, and his great drive today, so I think he'll have mixed feelings on that, but at the end of the day, he enjoys somebody giving it one and a good drive, and he will appreciate Damon's efforts.
And here's an indication of the fact that if you just put a wheel wrong in Grand Prix racing, and particularly the Hungaroring, you can be in trouble. Look how close Ralf Schumacher, that we're riding with now, is to his brother. Ralf, who's 22 years old, Michael, who's 28 years old. There's a lot of race difference between them in terms of experience, and Eddie Irvine in behind Ralf Schumacher is giving the German a hard time. And Ralf Schumacher's got a problem, the age-old problem. He wants to get past Michael and at the same time prevent Eddie Irvine from getting past him, while Shinji Nakano, who is in the blue Prost in 8th position, is 7th position, is keeping a watching brief on all of them and hoping he can stay ahead of his teammate Jarno Trulli. He's showing every sign of doing so because Trulli is actually lapping slower than Nakano.
Very much so, and of course here they are in line down the pit straight, and nobody's got a good opportunity from there to do anything at all. So it's just follow my leader, and Michael Schumacher will not be easily put off his line, will not be easily pressured into making a mistake.
No, oh, Irvine, as the shot changed, Irvine was going for Ralf Schumacher. Did he succeed? The shot changed to show us Damon Hill on his 72nd lap, and Irvine failed. Ralf Schumacher must have closed the door in the Irishman's face, and he's had to drop back. But having failed once, that's not going to stop him from trying again.
No, Ralf would probably had time to wave at him. It's way too dirty. You cannot pass in the outside of turn 2, but it at least distracts the guy in front of you.
750 horsepower on. They won't tell you, of course, exactly what the engines produce, but the good ones are in that region, with a car that weighs very, very little compared with a family saloon. A fantastic power-to-weight ratio, and if you get off the line here onto the marbles, the loose rubber that's worn off tyres, you can have a major problem and spin out in no time.
Well, very much to demonstrate that, Michael Schumacher's lapping 7 seconds per lap in just 2.5 miles, 7 seconds per lap slower than his pole position time. Now, a Formula 1 car goes an awful long way in 7 seconds. That's how much slower the track gets in the afternoon when it starts to get a lot of rubber and dirt on it, and also as the tyres degrade.
Yeah, and Ralf Schumacher, of course, who went off several times in practice and qualifying in the Jordan, will be very anxious indeed to finish this race. He's failed to finish 6 times this year. He will be very anxious to get World Championship points. He's on 2 at the present moment, and if you're wondering where Damon is now, he's on lap 73, an increasing distance ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. The gap is now 34.34 seconds. Damon Hill leads, and Johnny Herbert is still gaining on Villeneuve, but still a long way behind in 3rd place.
Tasso Marquez coming in for a 10-second slap on the wrist for blocking. I can only assume that would be for blocking the leaders. He's not really in a race with anybody else, so Marquez getting a punishment there that means a full 30 to 35 seconds cost, but it's not going to affect his afternoon too much.
Lap 73, race order. Damon Hill, 35 seconds ahead of Villeneuve, who is 23 seconds of the sterling Johnny Herbert that we've talked to so many times in the past, when in various teams he's had, particularly when he was with Lotus, the misfortune to have to retire. Ever smiling, ever cheerful, very determined. Johnny Herbert, 3rd place for Sauber with the Petronas Ferrari-based engine.
Yes, Ralph got a bit out of shape into 1, letting Irvine close up. He might have a stab down the inside. No, he's not close enough. Ralph recovered well, but that gives Michael a bit more of a breathing space with just 5 laps to go. Damon Hill crossing the line again. Everything's still looking good. The haze behind the car is simply a heat haze coming out of the exhaust.
And he is about to start his 75th lap. No, his 74th lap, my apologies. He's on his 74th lap. 3 laps to go after this one, each of 2.5 miles, very nearly. 2.465 to be exact. And I hardly dare speak, to be honest. Lap 74, here's the battle. Jacques Villeneuve, 34 seconds behind Damon Hill, has very obviously decided to settle for 2nd place, because with just those 3 laps left, including the one that Damon Hill is on, and a 34-second gap between them, he's got no hope of winning this race, provided Damon can just keep going. There is Herbert, 3rd. Here is Michael Schumacher, 4th. Ralf Schumacher, 5th. Eddie Irvine, 6th. Shinji Nakano is in 7th place, a long, long way ahead of Jarno Trulli, 8th. 9th is Berger. Both Trulli and Berger have been lapped, as has Katayama, 10th. Alesi, 7th. Marquez, 12th. Salo, 13th, who is the last man running. I said roughly half the cars would go out of this race. 22 started, 13 are still running, and Damon Hill is now on his 75th lap. Lap 75, lap 76, lap 77 to go. Schumacher, Irvine, Nakano. And Nakano's certainly learning about the line to take here at Hungary following these Masters.
Well, Nakano's relatively new to Formula 1, and he may not be thinking like this, but he's got the least to lose of that lot. He's not in any kind of championship position. He's not in a point-scoring position today, so he might as well creep up behind Eddie Irvine and have a fairly major stab somewhere and see what can come out of it.
Yeah. And with Damon Hill on his 75th lap, let's go back to Louise Goodman to see how things are in the Arrows garage.
They're not going very well, I'm afraid, Murray. Damon's just come on the radio to say that he's having a problem with his throttle. It's not backing off properly.
Well, can we, Martin, what's that mean? What's the news?
It's an electronic throttle on the car. There's no cable between the throttle pedal and the engine. and so it's an electronic signal that moves the throttle, and obviously the potentiometer that operates that, or the computer software that understands the potentiometer, is not doing what it should be doing. He has slowed down somewhat, but he's still lapping at a reasonable pace. But what scares me more is, I mean, he can obviously live with this. It'll pull the car into the corners. He can dip the clutch and get over that. But what scares me is it could be the early signs of a throttle potentiometer problem. But anyway, still, so 1:31, 8 seconds he lost on that lap, 8 whole seconds.
But he was 33 seconds ahead. We'll wait till the end of the lap. We can give you the gap, because Damon Hill is now on his 76th lap out of 77. It's a nail-biting situation, with Villeneuve gaining. 24 seconds is the gap now between the A-lings, slowing Damon Hill. There he is.
Oh no, he's cruising, Murray. He's absolutely cruising. He's obviously lost a lot of use of the throttle or something. Look, he's going very, very slowly.
This is quite incredible. Damon Hill is round turn 5 in this 14-turn race. Now, he's running quite quickly as far as an ordinary motorist is concerned, but paralytically slow as far as Formula 1 is concerned. And all the time, Jacques Villeneuve, who will know from his headphones and from the radio that he's got his 5th Grand Prix victory potentially in his hands, is obliterating the space between him. Now, there is the Prost of Trulli, who has already been lapped by Damon Hill, gaining on the arrows.
Damon's got an intermittent throttle. You can see him every so often. The car just takes off. Mind you, don't turn in, Damon. His concentration would not be on that back marker. He's got away with that. This is the last lap. He's shaking the car around in an attempt to try to connect up some electrical connector or something like that to give him his throttle back. He moves into the last lap of the race. Oh no, I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to be fast enough on the last lap. He's losing so much time.
Gerhard Berger, who was 9th position and lapped, goes past Damon Hill, who's into the last 2 miles of the Hungarian Grand Prix, with Jacques Villeneuve burying his throttle and obliterating the space
he's
between
right behind
the two.
him. Look, here comes Villeneuve.
Villeneuve's going to take the lead. Villeneuve is going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix. Oh, Damon, the whole of the world's heart will go. Villeneuve takes to the grass. And Damon Hill, is he even going to finish second? Well, I said earlier on that no matter what happened to Damon, he can hold his head high at the end of the Hungarian Grand Prix after a quite unbelievable drive. Johnny Herbert is catching now Damon Hill's arrows, but Damon is still running, and it's very, very likely that Damon is going to get 6 World Championship points for finishing in 2nd position, but the winner is certainly going to be Jacques Villeneuve.
Well, I think Johnny Herbert may have him too, because Villeneuve took, what, he took 20 seconds out of Damon on that lap. Damon's car does not appear to be getting any faster. Johnny Herbert started the lap just 22 seconds behind Damon, so Johnny Herbert could be a threat to Damon as well, coming to the line.
Jacques Villeneuve into turn 14 for the last time, wins the Hungarian Grand Prix, and he wins it for the 2nd year in succession. And I don't mean this unkindly. Whilst he is absolutely and justifiably overjoyed, Damon was the man who made a wonderful, wonderful race out of it. As we watch Johnny Herbert to see who comes through in 2nd position, the answer is Damon Hill has finished 2nd. The cameraman has missed him, and out goes Michael Schumacher.
No, it's Irvine. It's Irvine.
Schumacher finishes. Well, Villeneuve wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. Damon Hill is 2nd. Johnny Herbert is 3rd. Michael Schumacher finishes 0.2 of a second ahead of his brother in 5th position. And in 6th place, Shinji Nakano takes that 1 point. And undoubtedly, although we didn't see it, Eddie Irvine was making a colossal attempt to get past the Prost with the Japanese driver. And Nakano has scored his 2nd World Championship point. But far more importantly, and I hope people won't take this the wrong way, as far as most viewers are concerned, Damon Hill has got 6 World Championship points to add to the ones that he has already, the 1 point that he already got for the British Grand Prix. There he is, driving in and waving, and Martin, I'm sure he'll be very, very sorry, but at the same time he will be elated, surely.
I don't know. I'm crestfallen. I'm sure the whole team is. Damon is putting on a good show of. I mean, he has driven brilliantly all weekend, but I'm struggling to find words that will express his disappointment, because that would have been one of the all-time great wins in Formula One, and 1 lap to go and it's taken away from him. He was robbed.
Well, thank you to Louise Goodman, who was there and found out what the problem is, a problem that very few people in the world, I think, would have wanted to know about. Naturally, Jacques Villeneuve won't have been unhappy, the Williams team won't have been unhappy, and that's 10 World Championship points for Jacques Villeneuve. Bridgestone, of course, were just about to win their first Grand Prix, and this happened to them too, so they'll be pretty disappointed, to say the least. Great win for Villeneuve.
Nicht in der Abrede stellen, aber er hat Muzzle gehabt in Silverstone und auch heute wieder in der letzten Runde vom Pech von Damon Hill profitiert und dann statt Platz 2 und 6 Punkten plötzlich Platz 1 und 10 Punkte und mit 3 Punkten und draußen skandiert das Publikum Damon, Damon. Selbst die vielen, vielen deutschen Fans schreien Damon, Damon, denn er ist der moralische Sieger, auch wenn er nur Platz 2 am Ende bekommt. Dritter wird Johnny Herbert, Michael Schumacher auf 4, Ralf Schumacher auf 5, dann Shinji Nakano auf 6 vor Trulli, Berger. Irvine wird noch gewertet als 9., dann Katayama, Alesi, Marquez und Salo.
Für mich war das eines der besten Rennen, was wir seit langem hatten. Sensationell im Verlauf und natürlich, jetzt kommt die Hymne.
Die kanadische Hymne für den Sieger, jetzt für das Team die englische. Die Königin ist wieder mal gerettet. Jacques Villeneuve strahlt 10 Punkte, aber wenn wir uns so ein bisschen aufregen und sagen, er hat Glück gehabt, dann meinen wir ja nicht nur die Sache mit Damon Hill, der in der letzten Runde den scheinbar sicheren Sieg noch abgeben musste, sondern wir meinen vor allen Dingen den, der im Williams-Team offenbar für Pech zuständig ist, nämlich Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Der schied aus, als er führte und ganz gute und richtig gute Siegchancen hat.
Ja, hat eine hervorragende Taktik gewählt. Ich muss sagen, im Nachhinein, ich habe auch nicht richtig daran geglaubt gestern, dass er das Richtige tut, aber ich muss ihn da wirklich rehabilitieren. Er hat wirklich ein enormes Pech gehabt und der Weg, auf dem er war gut und leider, aber ich glaube, wenn er das selbst nicht daran glaubt, das tut er nicht, dann wird es auch irgendwann klappen. Alles eine Frage der Zeit. Das Team steht sowieso hinter ihm viel mehr, als man außen annimmt.
Die übliche Pokalübergabe und ganz am Ende vom ungarischen Premierminister Gyula Horn eine silberne Champagnerflasche für den Sieger. Der ist uns allen, ja speziell in Deutschland, noch in bester Erinnerung aus der Zeit kurz vor der Maueröffnung, sich hier eingesetzt hat für die damals DDR-Flüchtlinge noch. Und Damon Hill, das konnte man sehr schön sehen bei der Siegerehrung, nicht bedröppelt, sondern trotzdem jubelt und genau deshalb, weil nämlich da unten immer noch sein Name skandiert wird. Er weiß, er ist der moralische Sieger. Er freut sich riesig, endlich mal wieder auf dem Podest zu sein. Er ist auf jeden Fall, und das ist für ihn wichtig, nicht der schlechteste Weltmeister aller Zeiten, denn er hat jetzt auf jeden Fall mehr Punkte als Jody Scheckter. Das war es erst einmal aus der Sprecherkabine. Sie haben hier noch einmal in aller Ruhe das Klassement. Es gibt noch jede Menge spannende Szenen, es gibt noch jede Menge Analysen und Interviews in den Highlights, aber jetzt gibt es erst einmal was zu gewinnen.